If the Brat Pack existed today, they'd be trending every week, canceled twice, and probably starring in an A24 movie about trauma. But back in the 80s, they were Hollywood's most wanted, until they weren't. Let's talk about what really happened. The birth of the Brat Pack label. By the mid-1980s, a new generation of young actors ruled Hollywood's teen films. They weren't just starring in hits, they were shaping an entire era. But in June 1985, one article changed everything. It started with David Blum, a journalist for New York Magazine, who spent a night out in Los Angeles with Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Rob Lowe. His assignment? A simple profile. What he wrote instead was a hit piece. He described the actors as cocky, privileged, and immature, and in a single throwaway line, he gave them a name that would follow them for decades: the Brat Pack. The label was a twist on the Rat Pack, the legendary group led by Frank Sinatra. But unlike Sinatra's crew, which symbolized old-school Hollywood charm, the Brat Pack label wasn't meant to be a compliment. It made them sound spoiled, unserious, and unearned, a group of kids who got famous by accident. Blum's article targeted Emilio Estevez the most, calling him the ringleader. It linked him to fellow young stars Lowe, Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, Ali Sheedy, and Demi Moore, the actors behind The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. But here's the problem. Most of them weren't even that close. Blum lumped together actors who barely knew each other, making it sound like they were a tight-knit gang. Studios ran with it, treating them as a package deal, which wasn't always a good thing. Andrew McCarthy hated it, calling it the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Judd Nelson claimed it cost him major roles. Molly Ringwald distanced herself completely. Some tried to embrace it, but the damage was done. Whether they liked it or not, the Brat Pack label stuck. Studios either wanted them or wanted nothing to do with them. Suddenly, their futures weren't about talent anymore. What made the Brat Pack famous? By the early 80s, Hollywood didn't take teen movies seriously. Studios churned out cheap horror flicks where teenagers were just there to be chased, or raunchy comedies that treated them like walking punchlines. Nobody was making movies about what it actually felt like to be young until a new group of actors changed that. In 1983, The Outsiders kicked things off. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, it was stacked with future stars: Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, and Tom Cruise. The film proved that audiences wanted real, emotional teen stories. Cruise and Swayze avoided the Brat Pack label, but Estevez and Lowe stuck together, helping shape what came next. A year later, John Hughes changed everything with 16 Candles. Before this, studios thought teenagers only cared about slapstick humor. Hughes wrote relatable, awkward, and messy characters. 16 Candles launched Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall into stardom, proving teen comedies could be smart and heartfelt. Then came The Breakfast Club, 1985, the movie that cemented the Brat Pack's place in Hollywood. Starring Ringwald, Hall, Estevez, Ali Sheedy, and Judd Nelson, it turned 5 teenage stereotypes into real people. No ridiculous pranks, no forced humor, just raw emotions and real struggles. Later that year, St. Elmo's Fire attempted to transition the Brat Pack into adulthood with Estevez, Lowe, Nelson, Demi Moore, Sheedy, and Andrew McCarthy. The film made money, but critics weren't convinced. The Brat Pack, once a golden ticket, was now a risky label. By 1986, things were shifting. Pretty in Pink still had Brat Pack stars, but Hughes was casting new faces. Then Ferris Bueller's Day Off came along and proved teen movies could succeed without them. The acting, were they actually good? Being famous doesn't always mean being talented. The Brat Pack had the looks, the hype, and the magazine covers. But were they actually good actors, or did Hollywood just hand them their success? Molly Ringwald knew how to sell a moment. In 16 Candles, she barely speaks in the opening scene, yet you instantly understand her frustration. She carried Pretty in Pink with pure main character energy, proving she wasn't just a teen icon, she had real emotional depth. Judd Nelson played rebellion like it was an art form. In The Breakfast Club, he wasn't just tough, he was fully unhinged. His raw, unpredictable performance made Bender iconic. But outside of that role, Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. His intensity worked in high school dramas, but not much else. Rob Lowe had the charisma, but lacked range. He looked like a leading man, but was usually cast as the pretty sidekick. In St. Elmo's Fire, he nailed the reckless best friend role, but critics weren't convinced by his acting. Even Lowe admitted the Brat Pack label made him feel like a lightweight. Emilio Estevez had drive, but was he a standout? He was solid in The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, but always stronger in an ensemble. When he pivoted to directing the Mighty Ducks era, it became clear he was better behind the camera. Andrew McCarthy was the ultimate sensitive guy. He brought quiet charm to Pretty in Pink, but some critics felt he played the same moody, lovesick role in every film. Even he later admitted he never felt like a true Brat Packer. Demi Moore broke the mold. In St. Elmo's Fire, she gave the party girl role unexpected depth. Unlike her peers, she had the range to outgrow teen movies, and she became one of the biggest stars of the 90s. Ally Sheedy was different. In The Breakfast Club, she made the withdrawn outsider just as compelling as the louder characters. But after the Brat Pack faded, so did her career. She never transitioned into blockbusters like Moore. So, were they actually good? Some were great in the right roles, but few had long-term versatility. They thrived in teen dramas, but when Hollywood moved on, only a few managed to adapt. John Hughes, puppet master or genius director? If there was one person responsible for making the Brat Pack a thing, it was John Hughes. He didn't just direct their biggest movies, he built their entire image. Without him, the Brat Pack might have been just another group of 80s actors passing through Hollywood. But here's the question. Was he a mastermind who brought out their best performances, or did he just create a formula and ride it until it wore out? Hughes wasn't your typical Hollywood director. He didn't come from the flashy big-budget blockbuster world. He started as an advertising copywriter before moving into comedy writing for National Lampoon. His real skill? Understanding teenagers in a way that most adults didn't. He knew they weren't just party-obsessed troublemakers or nerds looking for their big break. They had real problems, and they wanted someone to actually listen. His breakthrough came with 16 Candles in 1984. Hughes wrote the entire movie in a single weekend, building the script around Molly Ringwald, who he had never even met. When he saw her picture, he knew she was his lead. That's how Hughes worked. He wrote characters for specific actors, shaping roles to match their strengths. The film wasn't just a hit, it was a shift in teen movies altogether. Then came The Breakfast Club, and Hughes locked in his core team: Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Ally Sheedy. The entire movie took place in a high school library, which should have been boring. But Hughes turned it into one of the most talked-about movies of the decade. He let the actors improvise, giving them room to bring their own personalities into the script. The famous scene where everyone sits in a circle and spills their deepest secrets? Not scripted. He just had the actors open up, and it became one of the most memorable moments in teen movie history. By 1986, Hughes had practically built a teen movie empire, cranking out hits like Pretty in Pink and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But cracks were starting to show. He and Ringwald had a falling out when she turned down Some Kind of Wonderful, a movie he wrote specifically for her. Instead of rewriting the part, he cut ties with her completely. Meanwhile, Anthony Michael Hall, once his favorite young actor, also distanced himself from Hughes after refusing another nerdy role. Hughes took it personally, really personally. He was done with teen movies. He started shifting toward family-friendly films like Home Alone and Beethoven, leaving the Brat Pack behind. By the early 90s, he had disappeared from Hollywood altogether, frustrated with the industry. So, was he a genius or just someone who knew how to bottle teenage angst for a few years? It depends on how you look at it. He knew how to get real emotional performances out of young actors, but he also created an image that some of them could never escape. When he walked away from the genre, he left his Brat Pack stars behind. Some thrived and some struggled to move on. And without Hughes, the Brat Pack's reign over Hollywood was about to hit a wall. Were they box office gold or just overhyped? For a while, the Brat Pack felt untouchable. Their movies dominated pop culture, their faces were everywhere, and studios kept greenlighting more teen-led films. But here's the real question. Were they actually bringing in big money, or was their success mostly media hype? Let's talk numbers. The Breakfast Club, 1985, had a budget of about $1 million and made over $51.5 million at the box office. That's a ridiculous return on investment. 16 Candles made for about $6.5 million, pulled in $23.6 million. St. Elmo's Fire had a bigger budget at $10 million, and it raked in $37.8 million. These weren't just solid hits, they were massive for their budgets. The studios were happy and the actors were getting paid. But here's where things got tricky. While their movies were profitable, they weren't blockbuster-level stars. They weren't leading $100 million franchises or pulling in bankable solo careers. Instead, they were a package deal. Hollywood saw them as Brat Pack actors, meaning they worked best when grouped together. That was fine for a few years, but in Hollywood, trends don't last forever. By 1986, the cracks started forming. Pretty in Pink did well at $40.5 million, but it was clear John Hughes was shifting gears, relying on new faces like James Spader and John Cryer. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was one of the biggest teen movies of the decade at $70.1 million, didn't star a single Brat Packer. That was a warning sign. Then came the real test. Could they sell movies outside of teen roles? The answer? Not really. Rob Lowe headlined Oxford Blues, 1984, a drama about an American hustler trying to get into Oxford. It barely made a dent at the box office. Andrew McCarthy led Mannequin, 1987, which became a cult favorite, but wasn't exactly respected as serious cinema. Emilio Estevez's attempt at an action thriller with Wisdom, 1986, flopped so hard that critics roasted him for even trying. The biggest wake-up call? Blue City, 1986, starring Judd Nelson and Ali Sheedy, which was supposed to prove they could carry a gritty crime film. Instead, it bombed horribly and disappeared almost overnight. So, were they box office gold? Yes, but only for a moment. They had a window where their movies made money, but they never reached the level of major Hollywood power players. Once teen movies evolved, the industry didn't need them anymore. And for some of them, that reality hit hard. The backlash, why Hollywood turned on them. For a while, the Brat Pack ruled Hollywood. Their movies defined the 1980s, and they had fame, money, and a generation of fans. But almost as fast as they rose, Hollywood turned its back on them. The question is, why? It all started with the Brat Pack label itself. When New York Magazine dropped its 1985 article, it wasn't flattering. It painted them as spoiled, immature, and overhyped. Some, like Emilio Estevez and Rob Lowe, laughed it off. Others, like Andrew McCarthy, hated it. Judd Nelson later admitted that it killed his credibility as a serious actor. Instead of being seen as individuals, they became a package deal, and Hollywood didn't like it. Then came the off-screen drama. The media loved pushing the idea that the Brat Pack were hard to work with. Rob Lowe's party boy reputation didn't help, and Judd Nelson almost got fired from the Breakfast Club for allegedly harassing Molly Ringwald off-set. Even Estevez and Demi Moore, who were seen as the mature ones, couldn't fully escape the label. Meanwhile, Hollywood was moving on. By 1987, teen movies weren't the moneymakers anymore. Action films with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis were taking over. And John Hughes himself left teen films behind, focusing on family hits like Home Alone. Without Hughes backing them, Brat Pack actors found doors closing fast. Who survived the Brat Pack? When the Brat Pack era ended, not everyone faded into obscurity. Some reinvented themselves, while others struggled to land major roles. So, who survived and who got stuck? Demi Moore had the biggest career boost. She ditched the Brat Pack label early and landed Ghost, 1990. which grossed over $505 million worldwide. From there, she became an A-lister, starring in A Few Good Men, Indecent Proposal, and G.I. Jane. Even when her career cooled in the late 90s, she had already cemented her Hollywood legacy. Rob Lowe crashed, then clawed his way back. His 1988 scandal nearly ruined him, and for a while, he was stuck doing TV movies. But by the 2000s, he made a massive comeback with The West Wing, proving he wasn't just an 80s has-been. Then came Parks and Recreation, where he reinvented himself as a comedy star. It took years, but Lowe went from Hollywood exile to a respected actor again. Emilio Estevez took a different path. After starring in Young Guns, 1988, he pivoted to directing. His work on the Mighty Ducks franchise kept him relevant, but he avoided mainstream Hollywood, choosing independent films over blockbuster fame. Andrew McCarthy faded fast. Despite starring in Pretty in Pink and St. Elmo's Fire, he never embraced the Brat Pack title. By the 90s, his acting career stalled, and he transitioned into directing TV shows like Orange is the New Black. Judd Nelson had the hardest fall. He tried to go serious, but Hollywood didn't buy it. By the mid-90s, he was stuck in TV guest roles and direct-to-video films, never reclaiming his 80s success. Ally Sheedy struggled too. She earned critical praise for High Art, 1998, but Hollywood didn't give her many opportunities. After that, she mostly disappeared from the spotlight. The ones who rejected the label. Not every 80s star was cool with being called a brat packer. Some ran from the label immediately, while others dodged it altogether, despite starring in similar movies. Who escaped and how? Tom Cruise was in The Outsiders, 1983, yet no one called him a brat packer. Why? Because he moved differently. While others stayed in teen roles, Cruise strategized. He skipped high school movies and went straight to Top Gun, 1986, and Rain Man, 1988. By the time the Brat Pack label became toxic, Cruise was already a global superstar. Patrick Swayze avoided the trap too. He was in The Outsiders, but pivoted fast. By 1987, he was leading Dirty Dancing, an adult romance, not a teen flick. Unlike Brat Pack actors who played high schoolers well into their 20s, Swayze never got stuck in that cycle. Matthew Broderick should have been a Brat Packer, but wasn't. He starred in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 1986, but he never joined the Hughes movie club. He also skipped the Hollywood party scene, balancing his career with theater and serious films. Then there were those who got the label and hated it. Andrew McCarthy openly rejected it, saying, "I had nothing to do with them." Demi Moore distanced herself, and Emilio Estevez tried shifting to directing. How they still influence Hollywood. The Brat Pack might have been short-lived, but their influence never really disappeared. Teen movies before them were goofy, unrealistic, or just background noise to bigger films. After the Brat Pack era, Hollywood realized something. Teenagers were a real audience with real money to spend. John Hughes' films set the blueprint for what teen movies could be: funny, emotional, and actually relatable. You can see his influence in Clueless, 1995, 10 Things I Hate About You, 1999, Superbad, 2007, and 8th Grade, 2018. Even modern TV shows like Stranger Things and Euphoria owe something to the Brat Pack formula: realistic teens dealing with real issues. The nostalgia factor is huge, too. Hollywood keeps bringing them back, whether it's Molly Ringwald playing Archie's mom in Riverdale or Rob Lowe reinventing himself on Parks and Recreation. But the Brat Pack also left behind a warning. After their downfall, Hollywood became wary of over-labeling young actors. The closest thing today may be the Disney Nickelodeon stars of the 2000s who had their own struggles escaping their past. Were they just lucky? So, after all the hype, backlash, and nostalgia, were the Brat Pack actually good, or did they just ride a Hollywood trend? The answer isn't simple. Some, like Demi Moore and Rob Lowe, proved they had lasting star power. Others, like Judd Nelson and Ally Sheedy, struggled once teen movies faded. Molly Ringwald and Andrew McCarthy had strong moments but never fully transitioned into A-list careers. The truth, they were talented, but talent wasn't always enough. Timing played a huge role. The 1980s were a golden age for teen movies, and they were in the right place at the right time. But were they just lucky? Number their performances made these movies iconic. The Brat Pack captured something real about youth, and that's why their films still resonate today. They may not have all stayed superstars, but for a few years, they were Hollywood's most defining faces. And that's not just luck. That's history. You cheered for Chris Brown at the VMAs, you sang along to Michael Jackson at prom, but what if the music you grew up loving was written by men doing things you'd never want to defend out loud? Jerry Lee Lewis married his cousin. He was one of the biggest names in early rock and roll, but in 1957, right as he was blowing up, he made a move that shocked everyone. He secretly married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown. She was still in middle school and also the daughter of his bass player. Oh, and he was still married to someone else. It didn't stay secret for long. When he went to tour in England, reporters found out. They asked him about Myra at a press event. When she admitted she was 13, everything fell apart. The tour was canceled after just 3 shows. Crowds booed, promoters backed out, radio stations stopped playing his songs. Just like that, his career hit a wall. Jerry tried to fix the story. He said Myra was actually 15. He said their marriage was legal in the US, but it didn't help. People were disgusted. Even in the 1950s, this crossed a line. Years later, Myra said she didn't even understand what was going on. On her wedding night, she asked, "When do I go home?" The two stayed married for 13 years, but it was full of drama and bad press. Jerry's music career never fully recovered. He tried switching to country music and got a few hits, but he never reached that early level of fame again. No matter what he did, people remembered the cousin marriage. This wasn't just a scandal. It was the kind of move that made fans walk away. And even now, when people bring up Jerry Lee Lewis, it's not just about his music. It's about that marriage, and the fact that it happened at all. Chuck Berry's hidden camera scandal. He was a rock legend. He helped shape the sound of modern music with hits like Johnny B. Good and Roll Over Beethoven. But in 1990, fans learned something they couldn't ignore. He was secretly filming women in the bathroom of his own restaurant. It started when a former employee sued him. She claimed he had hidden cameras in the women's restroom at the Southern Air, a restaurant Berry owned in Missouri. Soon, more women came forward with similar stories. Berry denied it at first, but when police searched his home, they found videotapes, hundreds of them. The tapes showed women and girls using the bathroom, all recorded without their knowledge. Investigators also found hidden camera equipment and still photos taken from those tapes. Berry eventually reached a settlement with 59 women, agreeing to pay over $1.2 million in total. He also faced a class action lawsuit and was put on probation. This wasn't his first run-in with the law. Back in the 1960s, he had already served time for violating the Mann Act. He transported a 14-year-old girl across state lines for work and was later accused of engaging in inappropriate relations with her. That case sent him to prison for nearly 2 years. Still, the hidden camera scandal felt different. It wasn't a single accusation. It was years of behavior caught on tape. After the news broke, some fans dropped him completely. Others looked the other way, clinging to the idea that music and personal life should stay separate. But the facts were hard to ignore. The evidence was there, and the women didn't back down. Despite the backlash, Berry never lost his fame. He still performed, still got awards, and even had a documentary made about his life. But the bathroom camera case never fully went away. It stayed in the background, a dark stain on his legacy. Gary Glitter's crimes across continents. He was once a huge glam rock star. His songs like Rock and Roll Part 2 played in stadiums and sports arenas for years. He wore shiny suits, big sunglasses, and had a wild stage presence. But in 1999, everything changed, and not because of music. A computer repair worker found illegal content on Glitter's laptop. He was arrested and later admitted to having it. He served a short sentence in the UK, but after getting out, he left the country. That's when things got worse. He traveled through several countries in Southeast Asia. In 2006, he was convicted in Vietnam for serious crimes involving young girls. He served more prison time there than was sent back to the UK. He was placed under legal monitoring and barred from entering several countries after that. Even with all this, the full truth didn't come out until later. In 2012, Glitter was arrested again during a big UK investigation called Operation U-Tree. It focused on public figures accused of harming minors in past decades. In 2015, he was found guilty of several crimes, including actions involving girls under 13. These weren't rumors. These were official charges backed up in court. He was sentenced to 16 years. This wasn't just one bad decision. The court showed a pattern that lasted for years. There were multiple victims. The evidence was strong. And it all happened while he was performing, touring, and appearing on TV. Still, his music didn't fully disappear. In 2019, one of his songs was used in the movie Joker. That set off a wave of public anger. Many asked why someone with that kind of history was still getting airtime or royalties. For years, people sang along without knowing. But once the truth came out, it was clear. Gary Glitter didn't just fall from fame. He was taken off the stage for a reason. R. Kelly's secret marriage and accusations. In the 90s, R. Kelly was one of the biggest names in R&B. His songs were everywhere: weddings, graduations, award shows. But offstage, his personal life started raising serious concerns. It began in 1994 when he secretly married 15-year-old singer Aaliyah. The marriage license listed her age as 18. That wasn't true. The marriage was quickly annulled, but it left people asking questions that didn't go away. Over the years, more women came forward with stories. Many said they met Kelly when they were young and were later cut off from family and friends. Some said they were closely monitored and told when to eat, speak, or leave a room. Still, for a long time, these stories didn't get much attention. In 2002, a video was released that led to charges against Kelly involving a minor. He denied the claims and went to trial 6 years later. In 2008, he was found not guilty. He continued to release albums, tour, and appear on talk shows. For many fans, that seemed like the end of it. But in 2019, the documentary Surviving R. Kelly aired on TV. Several women and former employees spoke on camera, sharing their experiences. It shocked viewers and forced the public to take another look. Protests followed. Radio stations stopped playing his music. Artists pulled past collaborations. The backlash grew quickly. That same year, Kelly was arrested again. This time, he faced federal charges. In 2021, a jury found him guilty of using his position in the music industry to take advantage of young women. In 2022, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Ted Nugent's controversial past. He built his career on loud guitars, wild energy, and an in-your-face attitude. His music was all about rebellion, and he leaned into that image with full force. But looking back, some of his choices and comments from the early days don't sit well with people today. In the late 1970s, Nugent had a well-known relationship with someone much younger than him. To make their time together easier legally, he arranged a type of guardianship agreement with her family. That story has followed him for years, not because of a court case, but because of how unusual and uncomfortable it now sounds. What made things worse was how openly he talked about that time. In old interviews, he made jokes and comments about being attracted to girls far younger than himself. At the time, most of it was shrugged off as part of the rock star lifestyle, but when you hear those clips now, they land very differently. Some of his songs from that era also raised eyebrows. A few included lines that hinted at behavior that wouldn't be seen as acceptable today. These tracks were performed on stage, aired on radio, and sold in record stores without much pushback. But now, people are asking why no one stopped to question it then. Nugent has never faced legal charges tied to these situations. Still, the public conversation around him has shifted. In more recent years, he's become known for his political views, often speaking about responsibility, law, and morality. That shift has made his earlier behavior even more debated. It's the contrast that makes people pause. How can someone speak strongly about values while ignoring parts of their own past? That question keeps coming up, especially as clips, lyrics, and interviews continue to resurface online. Michael Jackson and the Neverland controversy. He was one of the most famous performers in the world. His voice, dance moves, and music videos changed pop culture forever. But while his fan base grew, questions about his personal life started to build, and they didn't go away. In 1993, a 13-year-old boy and his family accused Jackson of inappropriate behavior. Jackson denied everything. The case didn't go to trial, and it was settled out of court. That left many people wondering what really happened. Fans stood by him while others had doubts. In 2003, the spotlight returned when another young boy made similar claims. This time, Jackson was arrested and went to trial in 2005. He faced multiple charges, including serious accusations involving minors. The trial lasted months and was covered heavily by the media. Cameras followed him into court every day. In the end, the jury found him not guilty on all counts. Even after that verdict, public opinion stayed divided. Some believed he was targeted because of his fame. Others pointed to past cases and said the pattern was too hard to ignore. After his passing in 2009, the debate continued. In 2019, the documentary Leaving Neverland aired, featuring detailed interviews with two men who said they had been harmed by Jackson as children. The film got global attention. It sparked new conversations, protests, and even caused some radio stations to stop playing his music. Jackson's estate strongly denied the claims and many fans defended him. But the documentary led to a major shift. For some, it confirmed long-held suspicions. For others, it was the first time they saw the story laid out in full. No matter where people stand, the controversy around Jackson never fully disappeared. His music remains popular, but the questions about his private life still hang in the background. The facts are complicated, the reactions are mixed, and the debate continues, even years later. Chris Brown's assault case. In 2009, Chris Brown's career took a sharp turn. Just before the Grammy Awards, news broke that he had been arrested after a serious argument with singer Rihanna. The story spread fast. Photos from the police report were leaked to the public and shocked fans around the world. Brown later admitted to what happened and pled guilty to a felony charge. He was sentenced to probation, community service, and counseling. The case was one of the most talked about stories of the year. His image was badly damaged, and many thought his career was over. For a while, it seemed like that might be true. Sponsors pulled deals. Awards show invites stopped coming. Radio stations dropped his songs. But slowly, Brown began to return to the spotlight. He released new music, performed at major events, and even got nominated for more awards. Some fans welcomed him back. Others were uncomfortable with how quickly the industry moved on. The conversation became less about the crime and more about how society treats celebrities who face serious charges and bounce back anyway. Over the years, Brown's name continued to show up in headlines for the wrong reasons. He had several public outbursts, including one where he threw a chair at a window during a TV appearance. He was also accused of other incidents involving aggressive behavior, though not all of them led to charges. Still, his fan base stayed strong. Albums sold well, tours were packed, and despite the controversies, many of his songs continued to climb the charts. Today, Chris Brown's reputation depends on who you ask. Some see him as an artist who made a serious mistake and worked to move forward. Others think his success shows how easily fame can erase accountability. Either way, his story became a major example of how quickly public figures can fall, and how fast they can rise again, whether or not the public agrees. The case with Rihanna hasn't been forgotten, but the way it was handled by the media, the courts, and the music world says a lot about who gets second chances and why. Marilyn Manson and the abuse allegations. For years, Marilyn Manson made a career out of shock. His music, style, and interviews were all designed to push limits. But in 2021, things took a serious turn when multiple women, including actress Evan Rachel Wood, publicly accused him of abuse. Wood had spoken about being mistreated by a former partner before, but she didn't name anyone. That changed in early 2021 when she posted on social media and called Manson out directly. She said he manipulated and controlled her during their relationship. After that, more women came forward with similar claims. Manson denied all of it. His team said the relationships were always consensual and that he was being unfairly targeted. Still, the backlash was fast. His record label dropped him. TV shows cut his appearances. Music stations pulled his songs. Even his talent agency stepped away. The public response was intense. Some fans defended him. Others said they always had concerns about his behavior, especially because of his image and past interviews. Clips resurfaced where he talked openly about dark themes and disturbing ideas. Suddenly, those old moments were being seen in a new light. One woman filed a civil lawsuit. Others shared stories with reporters and online. Investigations began. Police searched Manson's home in 2021, and legal cases are still moving through the system as of now. Some were dismissed, but others are ongoing. Even though Manson hasn't been convicted of a crime, the damage to his public image is already done. The accusations were enough to change how people view his music and career. And because he built his image around shock value, it made it harder for some fans to separate the art from the person. What made this case stand out was how many voices came forward at once, and how quickly the industry responded. Whether or not he faces further legal action, the reaction showed just how much the music world has changed. What once went ignored now makes headlines. And for Manson, those headlines haven't stopped. Adam Levine's DM scandal. As the frontman of Maroon 5 and a coach on The Voice, he was known for being smooth, charming, and family-focused. That changed in 2022 when his private messages became very public and very embarrassing. It started when a model posted screenshots of direct messages from Levine. She said they had been in contact for a while and that the messages crossed the line, even though he was married with kids. One of the messages included a comment about naming his child after her. That's what really got people talking. More women stepped forward after that, sharing flirty and suggestive messages they said Levine sent them. None of them claimed a relationship happened. Still, the screenshots made headlines, and the internet ran with it. Levine responded quickly. He admitted to sending inappropriate messages but said he didn't have any affairs. He apologized and said he had used poor judgment. His wife didn't make any public comments, but the couple was seen together afterward, putting on a united front. The scandal didn't involve anything criminal, but it shook up his reputation. People were surprised that someone seen as laid back and respectful was sending messages like that while being married. The memes and jokes exploded across social media. Levine didn't disappear, though. Maroon 5 kept performing. The scandal faded from headlines after a few weeks. But for some fans, the clean-cut image was already cracked. This case was different from others on this list. No lawsuits, no police, no years of silence, just screenshots and a lot of backlash. But it showed how fast things can change in the age of social media. A few messages were all it took to shift public opinion, at least for a while. Levine didn't lose his career, but he did lose some of the trust fans had in his image. And in today's world, that kind of damage spreads faster than ever. Matty Healy's public meltdowns. As a lead singer of the 1975, he was once known for being quirky, outspoken, and just a little weird, in a way that fans loved. But in 2023, that charm started to wear off fast. A string of strange interviews and messy behavior had people asking, "What is going on with this guy?" It started with a podcast appearance where Healy laughed along to jokes that many felt were offensive. The episode included comments about women and people of different backgrounds that sparked major backlash. Clips from the show went viral and fans weren't laughing. Soon after, he was seen watching inappropriate content on the same podcast, while the hosts joked about it. People said it wasn't just bad taste, it was flat-out disrespectful. Social media lit up with criticism, and even longtime fans started to back away. Healy tried to joke through it all. He posted online like nothing happened. At concerts, he made sarcastic comments and doubled down on some of the things he had said earlier. But instead of coming across as edgy, it started to feel careless. Things got worse when he made fun of other artists on stage, including popular female performers. That didn't go over well either. Musicians and fans called him out, saying his behavior was mean, not clever. Interviews from the past resurfaced, showing a pattern of behavior that many felt had been ignored for too long. Healy wasn't accused of a crime, but his public image took a hit. For someone who used to be praised for being different, the switch was fast. His actions weren't just seen as awkward, they were called out as harmful. Even as his band kept touring, the energy around him changed. What was once seen as artistic or edgy now looked out of touch. And in today's music world, that kind of shift doesn't go unnoticed. Healy may bounce back, but for now, his name is less about music and more about damage control. In 1921, a young actress named Virginia Rappe died under mysterious circumstances at a party hosted by silent film star Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. This controversy was just the beginning. For over a century, Hollywood has been a breeding ground for disturbing rumors that turned out to be all too real. Today we're pulling back the curtain on Tinseltown's darkest truths, the casting couch, early Hollywood's open secret. The term casting couch emerged in the 1920s, referring to a troubling practice where influential men took advantage of aspiring actors for inappropriate favors in exchange for roles. Louis B. Mayer, co-founder of MGM Studios, was notorious for this behavior. Mayer held private meetings with young actresses, often leading to uncomfortable situations. In 1935, dancer Patricia Douglas attended an MGM party where she was reportedly a victim of misconduct by a studio salesman. Despite filing charges, the case was quickly buried. Joan Crawford, who started her career in the 1920s, spoke about her experiences years later. "I never slept with a man I didn't want to. No one ever made me do anything I didn't want to do." However, her words hinted at the pressures faced by many actresses. Marilyn Monroe once said, "Hollywood is a place where they'll pay you $1,000 for a kiss and 50 cents for your soul." This quote reflects the industry's moral bankruptcy. In 1937, child star Shirley Temple, then 9 years old, was inappropriately approached by MGM producer Arthur Freed. When she laughed at him, Freed reportedly exposed himself. Temple's mother quickly removed her from the situation. The silent film era saw its share of scandals too. The Fatty Arbuckle case in 1921 shocked the nation when actress Virginia Rappe died after a party at his hotel. Though Arbuckle was eventually acquitted, the incident shed light on Hollywood's darker side. By the 1930s, the Hays Code was introduced to clean up Hollywood's image. However, behind closed doors, the exploitation continued. Judy Garland's studio-enforced diet pills. Her road to stardom was paved with studio control and dangerous health practices. MGM signed Garland at 13 in 1935. From the start, studio head Louis B. Mayer criticized her weight, calling her "my little hunchback." By 1938, during the filming of Love Finds Andy Hardy, 16-year-old Garland was put on a strict diet. Studio doctors prescribed Benzedrine and amphetamine for weight loss and seconal barbiturate to help her sleep. This dangerous cocktail kick-started a lifelong struggle with addiction. Garland's daily meal often consisted of just soup, black coffee, and 80 cigarettes, along with the prescribed pills. During the filming of The Wizard of Oz in 1939, the studio wanted her to lose more weight. She was 17 and weighed 94 pounds. In 1943, while filming Girl Crazy, Garland collapsed on set multiple times due to exhaustion and malnutrition. The studio's response was to give her a brief rest before pushing her back to work. Garland later recalled, "They had us working days and nights on end. They'd give us pills to keep us on our feet long after we were exhausted. Then they'd take us to the studio hospital and knock us out with sleeping pills." By 1947, Garland's health had deteriorated significantly. She attempted to end herself on the set of The Pirate. Despite this, MGM continued to push her, leading to her suspension in 1948 due to erratic behavior caused by addiction. "I was in the studio system for 15 years and I thought they were going to kill me," Garland said in a 1967 interview. She suffered numerous breakdowns and was admitted to sanitariums multiple times throughout her career. The long-term effects of this studio-enforced regimen were devastating. Garland struggled with addiction and health issues for the rest of her life. She died in 1969 at age 47 from an accidental overdose, a tragic end tied directly to the abusive practices she endured in her youth. Alfred Hitchcock's obsession with Tippi Hedren. His obsession with Tippi Hedren during the early 1960s revealed a dark side to the famed director. Hedren, a model-turned-actress, was discovered by Hitchcock in a TV commercial in 1961. He immediately signed her to a 7-year contract. Hedren's first role was in The Birds, 1963. During filming, Hitchcock's behavior became increasingly controlling. He dictated her wardrobe off-set and forbade her from socializing with the cast and crew. Hedren later stated, "Every time I'd be talking with a male member of the cast or crew, my next exchange with Hitchcock would be icy." The most harrowing incident occurred during the filming of the attic scene. Hedren was told mechanical birds would be used. Instead, live birds were thrown at her for 5 days straight. She suffered cuts, exhaustion, and a nervous breakdown. When a bird nearly pecked her eye, she snapped, "I think you got your scene, Mr. Hitchcock." In 1964, during the production of Marnie, Hitchcock's obsession intensified. He had a mask of Hedren's face made for his personal use and installed a secret door between his office and her dressing room. Hedren recounted a disturbing incident in her trailer. "He touched me inappropriately. It was uncomfortable and deeply unsettling. The harder I fought him, the more aggressive he became." After Hedren refused his advances, Hitchcock threatened to ruin her career. True to his word, he kept her under contract for 2 years without work, effectively stalling her career. Hitchcock's behavior wasn't limited to Hedren. Actress Diane Baker, who co-starred in Marnie, observed, "I saw Hitchcock verbally abuse Tippi and I was shocked." In 1966, Hedren finally broke free from her contract with Hitchcock. However, the director's influence in Hollywood made it difficult for her to find work. She later said, "He ruined my career, but he didn't ruin my life." Hedren kept silent about these experiences for decades, only speaking out in detail in her 2016 memoir, Tippi. Her story shed light on the abuse of power that was all too common in Hollywood during that era. Roman Polanski's assault case. On March 10, 1977, film director Roman Polanski, then 43, was arrested in Los Angeles. The charge, drugging and misconduct of a 13-year-old girl, Samantha Gailey, now Guymer. The incident occurred at actor Jack Nicholson's home during a photo shoot for French Vogue. According to court documents, Polanski gave Gailey champagne and part of a Quaalude. He then allegedly continued with inappropriate actions despite her objections. Gailey later testified, "I was mostly just on and off saying, 'No, stop,' but I was afraid." Polanski faced legal charges on multiple counts related to inappropriate conduct, including allegations involving the use of a controlled substance and misconduct with a minor. He initially pleaded not guilty to all charges, but later accepted a plea bargain. On August 8, 1977, Polanski pleaded guilty to unlawful activity with a minor. Per the plea deal, the probation report recommended probation. However, on the day of sentencing, February 1, 1978, Polanski fled to France. He had learned that the judge, Lawrence J. Rittenband, planned to sentence him to prison and subsequent deportation. France refused to extradite Polanski due to its limited extradition treaty with the U.S. Polanski continued his film career in Europe, even winning an Oscar for The Pianist in 2003, which he couldn't collect in person. In 2009, Polanski was arrested in Switzerland at the request of U.S. authorities. He spent 67 days in custody before being released and returning to France. Guymer, the victim, has since stated she forgives Polanski and believes the case should be dropped. In a 2013 interview, she said, "I'm not going to carry a bunch of resentment, and much worse things happen to people." Despite this, attempts to resolve the case have been unsuccessful. In 2017, Polanski's offer to return to the U.S. for time served was rejected by L.A. County Superior Court Judge Scott Gordon. As of 2024, Polanski remains a fugitive from the U.S. justice system. Rob Lowe's tape scandal. In July 1988, 24-year-old actor Rob Lowe became embroiled in a controversy that nearly derailed his career. The incident occurred during the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta, where Lowe was supporting presidential candidate Michael Dukakis. On the night of July 17th, Lowe met two young women at a bar and brought them back to his hotel room. Unbeknownst to Lowe, one of the women, 16-year-old Jan Parsons, was underage. The encounter was videotaped, creating what would become one of Hollywood's first celebrity intimacy tape controversies. The tape surfaced months later when Parsons' mother found it and reported it to the authorities. On February 24, 1989, the story broke in the media, causing immediate shockwaves in Hollywood and beyond. Lowe initially denied any wrongdoing, claiming he didn't know Parsons was underage. He stated, "I didn't ask for ID going into a club. It was Atlanta, the home of Coca-Cola, not the home of underage girls." The controversy had severe consequences for Lowe's career. He was dropped from several film projects and lost numerous endorsement deals. His appearance at the 1989 Academy Awards was met with open hostility from some attendees. Legal ramifications followed. Lowe faced criminal charges for misconduct with a minor and distributing explicit material. To avoid prosecution, he agreed to perform 20 hours of community service in his home state of Ohio. The incident also led to a civil lawsuit from Parsons' family, which was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. As part of the settlement, Lowe was required to publicly apologize. In the years following the scandal, Lowe worked to rebuild his career and reputation. He entered rehab for alcohol addiction in 1990, a move he credits with helping him turn his life around. Woody Allen's relationship with Soon-Yi Previn. In January 1992, Mia Farrow discovered unclothed photos of her adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn, in Woody Allen's apartment. Allen, then 56, had been in a relationship with Farrow for 12 years. Soon-Yi was 21 at the time and had been adopted by Farrow and her ex-husband, Andre Previn, years earlier. The discovery sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the public. Allen confirmed the relationship in August 1992, stating, "I'm thrilled." The admission came amid a bitter custody battle between Allen and Farrow over their 3 children. Allen's film, Husbands and Wives, released in September 1992, became unintentionally controversial due to its plot similarities to the real-life scandal. The film's premiere was marked by protests and media frenzy. In 1993, a judge in the custody case called Allen's behavior with Soon-Yi grossly inappropriate. The court denied Allen visitation rights with his daughter Dylan and limited contact with his son Satchel, now Ronan Farrow. Despite the controversy, Allen and Soon-Yi married in Venice on December 23, 1997. Allen was 62, Soon-Yi 27. The ceremony was small, with only a handful of guests present. In a rare 2015 interview with NPR, Allen addressed the relationship's beginnings. "I was paternal. She responded to someone paternal." This statement further fueled critics who found the relationship's power dynamics disturbing. The scandal significantly impacted Allen's career. Several actors, including Greta Gerwig and Timothée Chalamet, later expressed regret for working with him. Amazon Studios terminated a 4-picture deal with Allen in 2019, citing renewed allegations of misconduct by Dylan Farrow. As of 2024, Allen and Soon-Yi remain married and have 2 adopted daughters. The controversy continues to spark debates about power, consent, and morality in Hollywood relationships. R. Kelly's illegal marriage to Aaliyah. On August 31, 1994, R&B singer R. Kelly, then 27, illegally married his 15-year-old protégée Aaliyah in a secret ceremony in Rosemont, Illinois. The marriage certificate falsely listed Aaliyah's age as 18. Kelly had met Aaliyah 3 years earlier when she was 12. He became her mentor, producer, and lead songwriter for her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, released in May 1994. The album's title now seems disturbingly prophetic. Vibe magazine published a copy of the marriage certificate in December 1994. The revelation sparked immediate controversy. Aaliyah's family was reportedly furious and moved quickly to have the marriage annulled in February 1995. Kelly's former tour manager, Demetrius Smith, later admitted to obtaining a fake ID for Aaliyah. In the 2019 documentary Surviving R. Kelly, Smith stated, "I was in the room when they got married. I'm not proud of that." Both Kelly and Aaliyah initially denied the marriage. In a 1994 interview, Aaliyah said, "I'm not married. That's all there is to it." She maintained this stance until she died in a plane crash in 2001. The illegal marriage came to light again during Kelly's 2019 arrest on federal charges. Prosecutors alleged Kelly bribed a government official in Illinois to create a fake ID for Aaliyah. In 2021, during Kelly's exploitation trial, a witness testified that Kelly married Aaliyah because he believed she was pregnant with his child. The marriage would have protected Kelly from charges. Kelly was ultimately convicted on all 9 counts against him, including racketeering and exploitation. The illegal marriage to Aaliyah was a key part of the prosecution's case, Harvey Weinstein's decades of serious misconduct. On October 5, 2017, the New York Times published an exposé detailing nearly 3 decades of coercion allegations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. The article, by Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey, cited interviews with numerous women in the film industry. Among the first accusers were actress Ashley Judd and former Weinstein employee Laura Madden. Judd recounted a 1997 incident where Weinstein invited her to his hotel room and asked for a massage. Madden described similar experiences in the early 1990s. The article revealed that Weinstein had reached at least 8 settlements with women who accused him of unwanted physical contact and advances. These settlements, dating back to 1990, were often accompanied by non-disclosure agreements. 5 days after the Times article, The New Yorker published Ronan Farrow's investigation, which included 13 more women's accounts of alleged abuse by Weinstein. 3 women accused Weinstein of SA. Actress Rose McGowan, who had alluded to her experience for years, publicly accused Weinstein of serious misconduct on October 12, 2017. She stated she was paid $100,000 in 1997 to sign a non-disclosure agreement. By October 31st, over 80 women had come forward with allegations against Weinstein. The list included high-profile actresses like Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, and Salma Hayek. Weinstein was dismissed from the Weinstein Company on October 8, 2017. He was later arrested and charged in New York on May 25, 2018, for serious misconduct. On February 24, 2020, Weinstein was found guilty of 2 serious offenses and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Bill Cosby's serial assaults. For decades, Bill Cosby was known as America's dad, beloved for his role on The Cosby Show. However, beneath this wholesome image lurked a serial predator whose crimes spanned half a century. The first public accusation against Cosby came in 2005 when Andrea Constand filed a lawsuit alleging he drugged and acted inappropriately toward her in 2004. During the case, 13 other women came forward with similar stories. The suit was settled out of court in 2006 for $338 million. Despite these allegations, Cosby's career continued largely unaffected until October 16, 2014. During a stand-up performance in Philadelphia, comedian Hannibal Buress seriously referred to Cosby, rekindling public interest in the allegations against him. In the following months, dozens of women came forward with stories of coercion dating back to the 1960s. Many described a similar pattern. Cosby would offer them drinks, which were allegedly drugged, and then SA them while they were incapacitated. On December 30, 2015, Cosby was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated indecent moves against Andrea Constand. This was the first criminal case against Cosby, as most other allegations fell outside the statute of limitations. Cosby's first trial in 2017 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. However, in a retrial on April 26, 2018, Cosby was found guilty on all 3 counts. On September 25, 2018, he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison. During the trial, 5 other women testified about their experiences with Cosby, establishing a pattern of behavior. One of these women, Janice Dickinson, testified that Cosby coerced her in 1982 after giving her a pill. Cosby's conviction was overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on June 30, 2021, due to a violation of his due process rights. He was released from prison the same day, having served nearly 3 years. Kevin Spacey's predatory behavior. On October 29, 2017, actor Anthony Rapp alleged that Kevin Spacey made a misappropriate advance toward him in 1986, when Rapp was 14 and Spacey was 26. This accusation, published in a BuzzFeed article, marked the beginning of Spacey's downfall. Spacey responded on Twitter, claiming no memory of the incident, but offering an apology. In the same statement, he came out as gay, a move widely criticized as an attempt to deflect from the allegations. Following Rapp's accusation, numerous other men came forward with similar stories. On November 1, 2017, actor Roberto Cavazos alleged that Spacey groped him in the mid-2000s at the Old Vic Theatre in London, where Spacey was artistic director from 2004 to 2015. The Old Vic conducted an internal investigation revealing 20 personal testimonies of alleged inappropriate behavior by Spacey between 1995 and 2013. Many of these incidents occurred on the theater's premises. On November 3, 2017, Netflix cut all ties with Spacey, halting production on House of Cards and shelving his film Gore. Ridley Scott reshot Spacey's scenes in All the Money in the World, replacing him with Christopher Plummer just weeks before the film's release. In 2018, Spacey was charged with indecent conduct in Nantucket, Massachusetts, for allegedly groping an 18-year-old man in 2016. The case was later dropped when the accuser invoked his Fifth Amendment rights during a hearing about his missing phone. In May 2022, Spacey was charged with 4 counts of SA against 3 men in the UK, dating back to incidents between 2005 and 2013. In July 2023, Spacey was found not guilty of these charges in a UK court. Despite the court verdict, Spacey's career has been irreparably damaged. His last major film role was in 2018's Billionaire Boys Club, which earned only $618 on its opening day. Diane Keaton's love life has always been shrouded in mystery and speculation. From her on-screen chemistry with legendary co-stars to secret romances that defied Hollywood norms, her story is one of passion, intrigue, and controversy. The beginning of an iconic career. Diane Hall Keaton was born on January 5, 1946, in Los Angeles, California. Growing up in an artistic family, her mother, Dorothy Diane Keaton, won the Mrs. Los Angeles pageant, and her father, John Newton Ignatius Hall, was a real estate broker and civil engineer. Her journey into the limelight began with her education at Santa Ana High School, Santa Ana College, and the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City. During this period, she changed her last name to Keaton, her mother's maiden name, to avoid confusion with another actress named Diane Hall. Her big break came with the 1968 Broadway musical Hair, where she caught the eye of director Woody Allen. This led to her starring in Allen's Broadway play Play It Again, Sam in 1969, earning a Tony Award nomination. This collaboration marked the beginning of a significant professional and personal relationship. In 1972, Keaton was cast as Kay Adams in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. The film's immense success catapulted her to fame, grossing over $134 million domestically. She reprised her role in the sequels, further solidifying her place in Hollywood. Her portrayal of the quirky and endearing Annie Hall in Woody Allen's 1977 film of the same name brought her widespread acclaim. It was a critical and commercial success, earning over $38 million at the box office and winning the Academy Award for Best Actress. The film also won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay for Allen. Keaton's unique fashion style in Annie Hall characterized by androgynous clothing and menswear-inspired outfits, sparked a fashion trend that resonated with audiences, making her an unexpected fashion icon. As her career progressed, Keaton continued to choose diverse roles, demonstrating her versatility. From dramatic performances in Reds, 1981, to comedic roles in Baby Boom, 1987, her ability to navigate different genres showcased her talent and range. Through the 1970s and 1980s, she became known for more than just her acting. Her relationships with high-profile co-stars and directors fueled media fascination, laying the groundwork for the rumors and speculations about her personal life that would follow her throughout her career. The Woody Allen romance. Her relationship with Woody Allen began on a professional level but quickly evolved into a deep personal connection. Their first encounter took place during the Broadway production of Play It Again, Sam in 1969, a pivotal moment that marked the start of a long and fruitful collaboration. Allen, celebrated for his unique comedic style and neurotic on-screen persona, found an ideal match in Keaton, whose quirky charm and natural acting talent complemented his vision perfectly. Their professional chemistry was first showcased in the 1972 film Play It Again, Sam, directed by Herbert Ross but penned by Allen. In the film, she played Linda Christie, a role that was well received by audiences and critics alike, further cementing her presence in the film industry. This project set the stage for what would become one of Hollywood's most iconic partnerships. The collaboration between Keaton and Allen reached its pinnacle with the 1977 film Annie Hall. This film was not only a critical and commercial success, but also a groundbreaking work that redefined romantic comedies. Despite their romantic involvement ending in the early 1970s, Keaton and Allen maintained a strong professional bond. They continued to work together on numerous projects throughout the following decades, including notable films such as Manhattan, 1979, and Radio Days, 1987. In interviews, Keaton has often expressed her gratitude for Allen's influence on her career. She has described him as both a mentor and a partner, someone who saw potential in her that she didn't see in herself. This sentiment was evident in a 2013 interview with The Guardian, where she stated, "Woody gave me my career." Despite the controversies surrounding Allen in later years, she remained professionally loyal to him, attributing much of her success to their early work together. Their collaboration extended well into the 1980s and 1990s, with Keaton starring in Allen's films such as Interiors, 1978, and Manhattan Murder Mystery, 1993. Keaton's relationship with Allen was characterized by deep mutual respect and admiration. In a 1977 interview with Newsweek, she spoke candidly about their relationship, saying, "Woody gave me the role of a lifetime. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself." A complicated affair with Warren Beatty. Her relationship with Warren Beatty added another layer of intrigue to her life. They met in the late 1970s while working on the 1981 film Reds. Beatty, who starred in and directed the film, and Keaton, who played the lead female role, shared undeniable on-set chemistry. Their relationship, however, was marked by intensity and passion. Beatty, already a well-known Hollywood heartthrob by the time he met her, was known for his charisma and charm. His reputation as a ladies' man preceded him, and his numerous high-profile relationships had long been the subject of public fascination. The on-set chemistry between Beatty and Keaton was palpable, and it quickly translated into a real-life romance. Their relationship was characterized by deep intellectual conversations and shared creative pursuits. She once remarked in a 2016 interview with Vanity Fair, "Warren was mesmerizing. He had this incredible presence and energy." Despite their strong connection, their relationship was not without its challenges. Beatty's reputation and Keaton's fiercely independent nature often led to clashes. Beatty was known for his meticulous and sometimes controlling approach to filmmaking, while she valued her independence and had a clear vision of her own career path. These differences sometimes caused friction between them, but they also contributed to the passionate and dynamic nature of their relationship. The media closely followed their romance, capturing their public appearances and speculating about their private lives. Paparazzi often photographed the couple at high-profile events, fueling public interest and adding to the pressure on their relationship. Despite the constant media scrutiny, Beatty and Keaton managed to maintain a semblance of privacy, often deflecting questions about their relationship in interviews. Their time together was marked by both professional and personal collaboration. Beyond Reds, they explored other potential projects, although none materialized to the same extent. Their relationship lasted for a few years before eventually fizzling out. The breakup, while amicable, was a result of their differing life goals and the pressures of their respective careers. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote, "Warren was a significant part of my life. He was brilliant, charismatic, and always full of ideas. But we were on different paths. Our relationship was passionate, but we both knew it wasn't meant to last." Al Pacino, a love that transcended films. Her relationship with Al Pacino began on the set of The Godfather, where they played Kay Adams and Michael Corleone. The film, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $134 million in the United States alone. The chemistry between Keaton and Pacino was palpable both on and off the screen. Their romance blossomed during the filming of The Godfather Part II in 1974. Keaton's portrayal of Kay, the wife who becomes increasingly disillusioned with her husband's criminal empire, mirrored some of the complexities of their real-life relationship. In a 2017 interview with People magazine, she recalled, "Al was unlike anyone I had ever known. Intense, dedicated, and incredibly talented. There was an undeniable connection between us." Despite their deep bond, the relationship faced numerous challenges. Pacino, known for his method acting and intense dedication to his craft, often found it difficult to balance his professional and personal life. Keaton, on the other hand, was equally committed to her career but longed for stability and companionship. This dichotomy led to several breakups and reconciliations over the years. Their relationship was marked by both passionate highs and tumultuous lows. In a 2004 interview with The New Yorker, Pacino described her as a significant person in my life. She was my muse, my confidant, and someone who always brought out the best in me. Their mutual respect and admiration for each other were evident, even during their most challenging times. The couple reunited for The Godfather Part III in 1990, reprising their iconic roles. The film, though not as critically acclaimed as its predecessors, still showcased their undeniable chemistry. Keaton's performance as Kay, now estranged from Michael but still deeply affected by him, resonated with audiences and critics alike. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Keaton and Pacino continued to navigate their on-again, off-again relationship. Their bond was further complicated by Pacino's reluctance to settle down and have children, a topic that she addressed candidly in her 2011 memoir, Then Again. She wrote, "I wanted a family, a sense of permanence. Al was always the love of my life, but he wasn't ready for that kind of commitment." Despite their eventual breakup, Keaton and Pacino remained close friends and continued to speak highly of each other in public. In a 2014 interview with The Guardian, she said, "Al will always be a part of me. Our relationship was intense and complicated, but it was also filled with love and respect." The brief affair with Sam Shepard. Her brief but intense relationship with playwright and actor Sam Shepard is another intriguing chapter in her romantic history. The two met in the early 1980s, a period marked by significant professional achievements for both. Sam Shepard, known for his brooding charisma and literary prowess, was already an acclaimed playwright by the time he met Keaton. His works, such as Buried Child and True West, had cemented his reputation in the theater world. Keaton, fresh from the success of films like Reds and Annie Hall, was at the peak of her career. Their meeting was a collision of two creative forces. Their affair was relatively short-lived, but left a lasting impression on both. In a 1983 interview with Rolling Stone, Keaton spoke about Shepard with admiration. "Sam is one of the most unique individuals I've ever met. He has this raw, untamed energy that is incredibly captivating," she said. Their relationship was marked by deep intellectual conversations and a shared passion for the arts. The couple worked together on the 1984 film Mrs. Soffel, directed by Gillian Armstrong. She played the title role while Shepard portrayed Ed Biddle, a convict involved in a daring prison escape. Their on-screen chemistry was palpable, reflecting the intensity of their off-screen relationship. Despite the film's mixed reviews, their performances were widely praised, showcasing their ability to bring out the best in each other. In her 2011 memoir, Then Again, Keaton reflected on her time with Shepard. "Sam was a whirlwind of creativity and emotion. Our time together was brief, but it was filled with passion and intellectual stimulation," she wrote. This period was a significant part of her life, shaping her views on relationships and artistic collaboration. The controversy with Steve Jobs. Diane's rumored relationship with Steve Jobs, the visionary co-founder of Apple Inc., is one of the more unusual and controversial chapters in her romantic history. The speculation about their connection began in the late 1980s and early 1990s, a period when Jobs was reshaping the tech world, and Keaton was a firmly established Hollywood star. The rumors first surfaced in the tech and entertainment circles, sparked by sightings of the two at various events and private gatherings. The nature of their relationship remained ambiguous, leading to widespread speculation. In a 1990 article in Vanity Fair, an anonymous source close to both Keaton and Jobs claimed there was a definite spark between them. They shared a mutual respect and fascination for each other's work. They were seen together at several high-profile events, including a 1988 benefit gala in San Francisco. Their public appearances fueled media speculation, with tabloids and magazines keen to uncover the truth about their relationship. Despite the attention, both maintained a tight-lipped stance, neither confirming nor denying the rumors. In a 2011 interview with the New York Times, Keaton addressed the speculation with her characteristic wit. "I've always admired Steve's genius, but beyond that, I prefer to keep my personal life personal," she said, neither confirming nor dispelling the rumors. The media frenzy surrounding their rumored relationship highlighted the intersection of Hollywood glamour and Silicon Valley innovation. It was a coupling that intrigued the public due to the stark contrasts in their personalities and professional worlds. Keaton, with her quirky independent spirit, and Jobs, with his intense, often abrasive drive for perfection, seemed an unlikely but fascinating pairing. Despite the persistent rumors, there was no concrete evidence to confirm a romantic relationship between Keaton and Jobs. Their interactions, while undoubtedly significant, remained shrouded in mystery. This ambiguity only added to the intrigue, making it one of the most talked about and least understood aspects of her romantic life. In a 2005 interview with Vanity Fair, an unnamed friend commented on the relationship. "Diane and Steve had a unique connection. Whether it was romantic or purely intellectual, only they know. But there was definitely something special between them," the friend said. The Nicholson Enigma. Her rumored involvement with Jack Nicholson is one of Hollywood's most enduring and enigmatic stories. The two first met on the set of the 1981 film Reds, directed by Warren Beatty, where Nicholson played the role of Eugene O'Neill. Although they were never officially a couple, their undeniable chemistry and close friendship led to years of speculation about the true nature of their relationship. Nicholson and Keaton shared a unique bond, marked by mutual respect and a deep understanding of each other's eccentricities. In a 2013 interview with The Guardian, she described Nicholson as one of the most charming and enigmatic people I've ever known. Their camaraderie was evident both on and off the screen, fueling rumors that there might be more than just friendship between them. Their professional collaboration took a significant turn with the 2003 romantic comedy Something's Gotta Give, directed by Nancy Meyers. They starred as Erica Berry and Harry Sanborn in a film that explored the complexities of love and relationships in later life. The movie was a commercial success, grossing over $266 million worldwide, and Keaton's performance earned her a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award nomination. On the set of Something's Gotta Give, the chemistry between Keaton and Nicholson was palpable. Their on-screen romance, filled with humor and genuine affection, led to widespread speculation about their off-screen relationship. In a 2004 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Keaton addressed these rumors, stating, "Jack and I have always had a special connection. He's a dear friend, and our time together on set was magical. But it's just that friendship." Nicholson, known for his charismatic and often unpredictable personality, also spoke highly of Keaton. In a 2003 interview with the New York Times, he said, "Diane is a remarkable woman, both on and off the screen. Working with her was a joy, and our friendship is something I truly cherish." His admiration for Keaton was clear, adding fuel to the ongoing speculation. Their close friendship continued beyond the film's production, with the two often seen together at industry events and social gatherings. Paparazzi captured numerous photos of them sharing laughs and intimate moments, further igniting rumors. Despite this, both Keaton and Nicholson maintained that their relationship was purely platonic. Warren Beatty, who had worked closely with both actors, commented in a 2004 Vanity Fair article, "Jack and Diane have a unique connection that's hard to define. They're kindred spirits, and that kind of bond is rare in this industry." This sentiment was echoed by other friends, who noted the deep understanding and mutual respect between Keaton and Nicholson. The persistent rumors about a controversial secret lover. Throughout her career, Diane Keaton has been known for her enigmatic persona, and nowhere is this more evident than in her references to a significant yet unnamed romantic partner. This mystery man has been a subject of speculation among fans and the media, adding an aura of intrigue to Keaton's already fascinating life. Keaton first hinted at this secret relationship in various interviews during the late 1980s and early 1990s. While she has often been candid about her high-profile romances with Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, and Al Pacino, this particular relationship remained shrouded in secrecy. In a 1995 interview with Vanity Fair, she mentioned, "There was someone very special in my life, someone who had a profound impact on me, but it's a part of my life I choose to keep private." The secrecy surrounding this relationship fueled rumors and speculation. Some suggested it might have been a powerful figure in Hollywood, while others believed it could have been someone entirely outside the industry. The mystery only deepened with Keaton's cryptic comments in subsequent interviews. In a 2001 chat with Oprah Winfrey, she said, "Not everything needs to be shared with the world. Some things are too precious, too personal." Friends and colleagues who were aware of the relationship respected Keaton's desire for privacy. Actor and close friend Jack Nicholson once remarked, "Diane has always been very private about certain aspects of her life. She has her reasons, and those of us who know her respect that." This tight circle of trust ensured that few details about the mystery man ever leaked to the public. Her reluctance to divulge information about this significant other has been linked to her broader views on privacy and fame. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote, "Fame is a double-edged sword. It gives you opportunities, but it also takes away your anonymity. There are parts of my life that I want to keep for myself, and I think that's important." This philosophy explains her guarded approach to discussing this relationship. Despite the lack of concrete details, Keaton's reflections on this mystery man reveal the depth of their connection. She often described him as a stabilizing force in her life, someone who provided emotional support and understanding. In a 2012 interview with The Guardian, she stated, "He was a rock for me during some of the most challenging times in my life. His presence was a constant source of comfort." In a 2018 interview with the New York Times, Keaton offered a rare glimpse into why she chose to keep this relationship private. "Some things are just too sacred to be put on display. I've shared a lot with the world, but there are some things that are mine alone. That relationship is one of them," she said. From asbestos snow in 1939 to drug-laced chowder in the 90s, film sets have always had one thing in common: danger that no one saw coming. Heat, toxins, and hospital visits. The Wizard of Oz may look magical, but filming it was anything but. The cast didn't just act uncomfortable, many of them were in real pain. First up, the Tin Man. Buddy Ebsen was originally cast in the role, but his silver makeup, it was made from aluminum dust. Within days, he couldn't breathe. He collapsed in his dressing room and was rushed to the hospital with serious lung issues. MGM quietly replaced him with Jack Haley, who wore a paste version of the makeup instead. It still caused eye infections. Then, there was the Wicked Witch. Margaret Hamilton caught fire during her big exit scene in Munchkinland. The trapdoor mistimed, and the flames burned her face and hands. She was out for 6 weeks. Her stunt double also burned later in the shoot. The Cowardly Lion didn't have it easy either. Burt Lahr's costume was made from real lion skin, heavy and unventilated. Under hot studio lights, it reeked and soaked through with sweat. The suit weighed around 90 pounds and had to be dried every night. The set itself was a hazard. The snow in the poppy field scene, that was asbestos. Totally normal for the time, but extremely dangerous. Even the Munchkins faced problems. Many were given alcohol to keep them quiet between scenes, and their cramped accommodations caused tension. One actor reportedly fell off a hotel balcony during filming. The production was rushed, disorganized, and punishing. Filming went over budget. Reshoots happened constantly, and with studio lights running full blast, temperatures on set often passed 100 degrees. Nobody was talking about on-set safety in 1939. You showed up, put on the costume, and hoped for the best. If someone got burned, they got patched up and pushed back in front of the camera. Illness, injury, and a cursed set. Rosemary's Baby wasn't just unsettling on screen. The stuff that happened off-camera was worse. First, the director. Roman Polanski pushed the cast hard, but the real damage came after filming. Composer Krzysztof Kometa, who scored the movie, fell off a cliff and never recovered. Producer William Castle got sick shortly after the premiere. He collapsed, was rushed to the hospital, and almost died. He reportedly yelled, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife," while hallucinating in his hospital bed. Then came the death of lead actor John Cassavetes' friend, Sharon Tate, Polanski's wife. She was killed in 1969, just a year after the film's release, in a case that shocked Hollywood. That tragedy led many to believe the film carried some kind of curse. Even the filming location had its own dark history. The Dakota Building in New York, used for exterior shots, was already infamous. Years earlier, it had ties to occultist Aleister Crowley. Decades later, John Lennon was killed outside its entrance. But it wasn't all superstition. There were actual physical problems during production, too. Mia Farrow, who played Rosemary, was under extreme pressure. Polanski made her eat raw liver on camera, even though she was a strict vegetarian. She filed for divorce during filming. She later said she barely slept and was isolated from the rest of the cast. Farrow also had to walk into New York traffic during one scene. That wasn't staged. No permits, no extras, just her walking through real traffic while Polanski filmed guerrilla style, hoping no one would hit her. He told her, "Nobody will hit a pregnant woman." They rolled the cameras and hoped for the best. The film was a hit. Critics praised it. But the stories surrounding it stuck. Illnesses, injuries, death. Whether it was cursed or just chaotic, Rosemary's Baby made people nervous, for reasons that went way beyond the script. Cold rooms, injuries, and a haunted set. The Exorcist didn't just scare audiences, it wrecked the people who made it. To shoot the freezing bedroom scenes, director William Friedkin had the set cooled to below freezing, literally. He had a refrigeration system installed to get real cold air. Breath vapor was real. But it was so cold, cameras froze and actors were shaking between takes. Linda Blair, who played Reagan, wore a thin nightgown and later said she caught a lasting back injury from the conditions. The worst injury? A rigged harness yanked her backward during a possession scene. The strap came loose. She slammed into the bed and screamed in pain. That scream stayed in the final cut. The injury led to long-term back problems. Ellen Burstyn also got hurt. In one scene, Reagan throws her across the room. The wire jerked too hard, slamming Burstyn onto the floor. Her cry of pain? Also real, and also left in the film. Crew members reported eerie things, too. A fire burned down parts of the set, delaying filming for 6 weeks. Oddly, the only room untouched was Reagan's bedroom, the set used for the possession scenes. One actor died before filming ended. Another died shortly after the movie wrapped. A night watchman passed away during production. A special effects worker lost a thumb. Even Friedkin said the shoot felt cursed. To calm nerves, the studio brought in a priest to bless the set. He agreed, but also warned they were playing with forces they didn't understand. Great for publicity, not great for morale. Despite the chaos, or maybe because of it, the film became a global hit. Audiences fainted, theaters had barf bags, but behind the horror on screen was something much darker: exhaustion, accidents, and a cast pushed to the edge. Method acting gone too far. Marathon Man is known for its intense energy, but behind the scenes, that intensity became a problem, especially for Dustin Hoffman. Hoffman, famous for his method acting, took things to the extreme during filming. For one scene where his character had to appear sleep-deprived and panicked, Hoffman stayed awake for 3 straight days. No naps, no breaks, just raw nerves and adrenaline. When he showed up to set, he was pale, sweaty, and shaking. Director John Schlesinger was stunned, but the real reaction came from co-star Laurence Olivier. Olivier took one look at Hoffman and said, "Why not try acting, dear boy?" It wasn't just a jab, it was a warning. Hoffman was making himself sick. During the shoot, Hoffman also went on extreme runs before takes to appear out of breath. He dropped weight, skipped meals, and kept pushing his limits. Crew members later said he looked exhausted even when cameras weren't rolling. His health didn't completely collapse, but people close to the production said he was constantly wiped out. Some scenes had to be delayed because he couldn't maintain energy or focus. One assistant reportedly kept food and juice on hand just to keep him standing. And it wasn't just Hoffman. The film's intensity affected the whole crew. Scenes were dark, gritty, and violent. The dental torture scene? Totally fake, but hard to watch, even for the actors. Hoffman admitted that filming it left him emotionally drained. He said the fear in his eyes wasn't all acting. The movie turned out great. Critics loved it. Hoffman was praised. But behind the awards and box office success was a body pushed to its limits. Olivier's advice may have sounded like a joke, but he wasn't wrong. There's a fine line between dedication and self-destruction. On Marathon Man, Hoffman walked it every day. It was a performance built on real sweat and pain, and it raised a quiet question that still lingers in Hollywood. How far should an actor go for the perfect shot? Heart attacks, breakdown, and tropical illness. Apocalypse Now wasn't just a movie, it was a survival test. Filming it nearly broke the entire cast and crew. Production began in the Philippines. It was hot, wet, and chaotic. The crew battled typhoons, mudslides, and unreliable equipment. Filming stopped for weeks when a storm destroyed the sets. But nature wasn't the only problem. Martin Sheen, who played Captain Willard, was only 36, but the stress got to him fast. He was drinking heavily, smoking non-stop, and barely sleeping. In March 1977, he suffered a heart attack on location. He collapsed while alone and crawled to the side of the road for help. Francis Ford Coppola kept it quiet. Most of the public didn't even know until years later. Sheen's brother doubled for him during recovery. He returned to finish the film, but it nearly killed him. Coppola wasn't in great shape either. He had seizures during filming and later said, "We had access to too much money, too much equipment, and little by little we went insane." Crew members caught malaria and parasites. Some were hospitalized. Filming stretched from 6 weeks to over a year. They were living in jungle conditions, with bugs, heat, and rain making every shoot miserable. Marlon Brando showed up overweight, unprepared, and refused to memorize lines. Dennis Hopper was reportedly high the entire time. Coppola had to rewrite scenes constantly, often late at night while people were sick or passed out. Even the animals weren't safe. A real water buffalo was slaughtered on camera in a ritual sacrifice, which drew criticism but stayed in the final cut. The movie won awards and became a classic, but it left scars. Sheen later said he almost died and had a full mental breakdown. Coppola mortgaged his home to finish the film. He described the experience as hell. Apocalypse. Now looked like war, and for many who made it, it felt like it too. The film showed the madness of battle. What audiences didn't see? The real war behind the camera. Sudden deaths and the poltergeist curse. Poltergeist had ghosts on screen, but it's the real-life deaths that gave people chills. The movie followed a family haunted by spirits in their suburban home. It was a hit, but after its release, strange things kept happening, off-set and for years. Just months after Poltergeist premiered, actress Dominique Dunne, who played the older sister, Dana, was killed outside her home. She was 22. Her ex-boyfriend attacked her in the driveway. She never regained consciousness. Then came Heather O'Rourke. She played Carol Ann, the youngest daughter and face of the franchise. Between filming Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3, she became ill with flu-like symptoms. Doctors misdiagnosed her. In 1988, she died from septic shock caused by a bowel obstruction. She was just 12. 2 deaths, both young, both shocking, and both tied to the same movie series. Other cast members also faced tragedy. Julian Beck, who played the evil preacher in Poltergeist 2, died of stomach cancer during production. Will Sampson, also in the sequel, died shortly after surgery not long after filming wrapped. People began calling it the Poltergeist curse. Tabloids ran with it. Fans pointed to the use of real human skeletons in the first film's pool scene as the trigger. Jobeth Williams, who played the mom, later said no one told her they were real until afterward. Director Tobe Hooper and producer Steven Spielberg never addressed the rumors publicly. But behind the scenes, many crew members felt uneasy. The set reportedly had a weird energy. Some refused to return for sequels. Of course, Hollywood is full of dark stories, but this wasn't just one case. Poltergeist had a string of deaths and misfortunes that kept piling up. Not during filming, but after. Some say it's coincidence, others still won't watch the movie. Underwater filming and breakdown. James Cameron wanted realism, so for The Abyss, he didn't fake water scenes. He dropped the cast into a giant underwater tank. It looked amazing. It also nearly broke everyone. The movie was shot in an abandoned nuclear reactor in South Carolina, converted into a 7.5 million-gallon tank. Most scenes were filmed 30 feet underwater. Actors wore heavy suits and real dive gear. Communication was spotty, it was cold, and dangerous. Ed Harris, the lead, spent hours submerged daily. In one scene, he had to hold his breath while sinking in a flooded room. He later said he almost drowned. When he got to the surface, no one was there to help him out. He punched a crew member and stormed off. In another scene, Harris's helmet filled with water. He panicked but kept going, then started crying while driving home. He called it the most physically demanding shoot of his life. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio didn't fare better. During a CPR scene, the camera jammed and Cameron wanted a redo. She shouted, "We are not animals," and walked off set. Crew members said she never fully came back after that day. The water wasn't clean either. Harris said the chlorine irritated their skin and eyes. People got sinus infections and rashes. Some had ear damage from pressure changes. Cameron didn't help. He was known for keeping cameras rolling too long and pushing actors past their limits. The crew gave him the nickname the Iron Gym. He admitted later he went too far. Food poisoning, freezing water, and PCP. James Cameron doesn't do easy, and with Titanic he aimed for total immersion, literally. Filming was brutal. The cold water scenes weren't just special effects. Much of the cast spent hours in freezing tanks. Hypothermia was a real risk. Kate Winslet got sick, bruised her arms, and nearly drowned when her heavy coat got caught during a stunt. She later said, "There were times I was genuinely frightened." But things got weird, fast. One night in Nova Scotia, 60 cast and crew members got violently sick after eating seafood chowder from the catering tent. People were vomiting, hallucinating, and couldn't stand up straight. At first, they thought it was bad shellfish. It wasn't. Someone had spiked the chowder with PCP, a powerful hallucinogen. Bill Paxton said people were laughing, crying, throwing up. Others were rushed to the hospital. Cameron was stabbed in the face with a pen by a crew member who'd completely lost control. He realized something was wrong when he couldn't stop laughing while trying to direct. To this day, no one knows who did it. Police investigated, but no one was charged. Some suspected a disgruntled crew member, angry over long hours and safety complaints. And yes, safety was a problem. People slipped on wet decks, got tangled in cables, and suffered exhaustion. The shoot went way over budget, and tempers flared. At one point, Cameron spent so much time underwater filming that he developed an ear infection and partial hearing loss. Kate Winslet admitted she wasn't a fan of Cameron's style. "He has a temper," she said, "and you can lose your dignity in front of hundreds." Despite all of this, Titanic went on to become one of the biggest movies ever made, but the behind-the-scenes experience? A different story. Ghost stories and unexplained events. The Conjuring was based on real-life hauntings, but once filming started, the strange activity wasn't just on screen. Director James Wan and the cast filmed in North Carolina using practical effects and moody sets to create a 1970s-style ghost story. But as production moved forward, things got unsettling. Vera Farmiga, who played Lorraine Warren, said she avoided reading the script at night. One morning, she opened her laptop and saw claw-like marks slashed across the screen. 3 long scratches. No one touched it. There was no damage to the outside. Just that single image burned in. She also reported waking up at 3:07 a.m. regularly, the same time strange events occur in the movie. Lily Taylor, who played the haunted mother, said her real-life children experienced odd behavior during filming. One of her daughters suddenly refused to enter her bedroom, claiming something was there. Things got weirder on set. The crew used a wooden set built to resemble the Perron family farmhouse. While shooting a major scene, the on-set phone rang. No one had connected a line. When answered, no one was there. Shortly after, strong gusts of wind hit the set, though the surrounding trees stayed still. Members of the real Perron family visited the set. During their visit, a sudden strong wind whipped through, but stopped just as quickly. Producer Tony DeRosa Grund later said it gave him chills that never left. Midway through filming, the cast's hotel experienced a sudden fire. No one was injured, but some actors refused to stay there afterward. Several crew members began requesting transfers to other departments. James Wan stayed quiet about the rumors. But many involved with the production admitted the shoot felt heavy, different from other horror films. Even Patrick Wilson, who played Ed Warren, said they didn't joke around much on set. "Something about it just felt off," he said in an interview. Was it marketing, coincidence, or something more? Burnout, breakdown, and live TV chaos. Saturday Night Live is known for comedy, but behind the jokes, the pressure is no joke at all. The show runs on a brutal schedule. Each week is a brand new production, built from scratch. Writers stay up all night. Rehearsals stretch to the last minute. And cast members often perform live on 2 hours of sleep and a stomach full of nerves. This grind has led to real health issues. In the early years, drug use was rampant. Former cast member Lorraine Newman said the original cast barely slept and used cocaine just to keep going. John Belushi's addiction was well known, and he often performed while heavily under the influence. His death in 1982 became a cautionary tale. More recently, burnout and mental health struggles have come into focus. In interviews, Bill Hader admitted he suffered panic attacks before live shows. "It would hit during the monologue," he said. "I'd think, I can't do this." He later stepped away from the show to protect his health. Pete Davidson also opened up about depression and mental health challenges while performing on SNL. He said the pressure, combined with public scrutiny, often pushed him past his breaking point. The show doesn't stop for anyone. Cast members have performed while sick, injured, or emotionally wrecked. There's no pause button. If you're in the sketch, you're live, ready or not. The live format, weekly turnover, and audience expectations create a non-stop loop of stress. Mistakes happen, fights break out, tears are shed off camera, but the show keeps going. Some Hollywood stars weren't just heavy drinkers, they were so drunk they had to be carried onto set. Others slurred their lines, forgot entire movies they starred in, or even died with a drink in their hand. This is the dark side of fame, the actors who were completely wasted at all times. John Barrymore. He wasn't just a star, he was Hollywood's first great alcoholic. Long before rehab was an option, he drank himself into a joke. Studios covered for him at first, but by the end, even they couldn't save him. In the 1920s, Barrymore was on top of the world. He had the looks, the voice, and the talent. But off camera, he was rarely sober. His drinking got so bad that directors had to feed him lines off camera because he couldn't remember them. Some days, he couldn't even stand up straight and had to be held up by crew members just to finish a scene. Everyone in Hollywood knew he had a problem. He showed up drunk, stayed drunk, and somehow still got roles, at first. But things fell apart quickly. One night during a live performance, he completely blanked out. Instead of trying to recover, he turned to the audience and slurred, "Line, please?" The show was shut down early, and from then on, everyone knew Barrymore wasn't the same actor anymore. By the 1930s, his drinking wrecked his career. Studios didn't want to risk hiring him, and directors stopped covering for him. Even when friends tried to help, he kept drinking. His body started shutting down, shaking hands, failing memory, and a career in free fall. It wasn't just his career that crumbled. His personal life was a mess. He burned through marriages, lost his fortune, and ruined friendships. He was once considered one of the greatest actors of his time, but by the end he was a cautionary tale. The final years? A disaster. He was broke, sick, and barely able to work. Friends had to help pay his bills, but nothing could stop him from drinking himself to death. And if you think Hollywood let him rest in peace, think again. His so-called friends stole his corpse as a prank, dragging his lifeless body around for one last drunken joke. Barrymore was the blueprint for Hollywood self-destruction. He was the first major star to drink himself into oblivion, but he wouldn't be the last. W.C. Fields. While most stars tried to hide their drinking, Fields didn't even bother. He carried a thermos full of gin everywhere, labeled with innocent words like pineapple juice or orange soda. Everyone knew what was inside, but no one dared to stop him. By the time he made it big in Hollywood, Fields was already a heavy drinker. He had spent years in vaudeville, performing night after night while nursing a constant buzz. Drinking was part of his personality, both on and off screen. He played lovable drunks in films, but behind the scenes he was far from charming when the alcohol took over. His drinking got so bad that directors had to shoot around his hangovers. Mornings were a lost cause. He was either too sick or still drunk. By afternoon, he'd start sipping from his juice thermos just to get through filming. Some days he was so hammered that he slurred entire scenes, forcing multiple retakes. Other times he skipped set entirely, leaving studios scrambling to explain his absence. Fields had a sharp wit, but when he drank, his temper flared. He'd curse out producers, insult his co-stars, and storm off set if something didn't go his way. His drinking wore down his body over time. His once sharp comedic timing started slipping, and so did his health. By the 1940s, his body was failing him. His liver was shot, and doctors warned him that if he didn't quit drinking, he wouldn't last much longer. But Fields didn't care. Instead of quitting, he had a liquor stash built into his hospital room. Nurses would find hidden bottles of whiskey under his mattress, and he'd sneak drinks when no one was looking. He drank until his final breath. When Fields died in 1946, people weren't surprised. His liver had given up long before he did. His career was legendary, but so was his drinking. And unlike other stars, he never tried to pretend otherwise. W.C. Fields wasn't just drunk all the time, he made sure everyone knew it. Errol Flynn. He was the ultimate movie hero, dashing, fearless, and always up for an adventure. But off-screen, he was a reckless alcoholic who drank so much that even Hollywood couldn't keep up with him. If there was a bottle around, Flynn was already ahead of the game. Flynn's drinking wasn't just a bad habit, it was his lifestyle. He'd start his day with champagne, switch to hard liquor by lunch, and keep going until he passed out. Studios tried to hide it, but his drinking made productions a nightmare. He slurred his lines, stumbled through action scenes, and sometimes needed to be propped up just to finish filming. During The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, he was so drunk during fight scenes that stunt doubles had to take over more than usual. In They Died with Their Boots On, 1941, he kept falling off his horse because he couldn't stay balanced. Directors grew frustrated, but Flynn's star power kept him employed, at least for a while. His drinking wasn't just for fun. Flynn was self-medicating, drowning out personal demons with endless bottles of rum and whiskey. He was constantly in legal trouble, facing accusations of assault and scandalous affairs. His court cases became just as famous as his movies, but instead of slowing down, he drank even harder. By the 1950s, Hollywood had enough. Studios stopped covering for him, and his reputation crashed. His once chiseled looks were puffed and bloated from years of heavy drinking. His liver was failing, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. In 1959, Flynn's body finally gave up. At just 50 years old, he died of a massive heart attack, but doctors found his organs were destroyed from years of alcohol abuse. His liver was so damaged that they said it looked like he belonged to an 80-year-old man. Flynn was Hollywood's original bad boy, but his addiction was his downfall. He lived fast, drank hard, and never made it to old age. If Hollywood was a party, Flynn drank until the lights went out. Richard Burton. He was a functioning alcoholic who drank his way through nearly every movie he made. Unlike others who tried to hide it, Burton showed up wasted on set and still delivered Oscar-worthy performances. But behind the scenes, his addiction controlled everything. Burton's drinking started early. By his 20s, he was already downing multiple bottles of liquor a day. Success only made it worse. He became one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors, but with that fame came an endless supply of booze. During Cleopatra, 1963, where he met Elizabeth Taylor, he was drunk in nearly every scene. The two fueled each other's addictions, turning their romance into a storm of booze, fights, and makeups. His drinking was legendary. He once chugged 3 bottles of vodka before noon, then went straight to filming like nothing happened. Some directors learned to work around it, shooting scenes early in the day before he got too drunk. Others just gave up, letting Burton slur his way through takes. By the 1970s, his addiction took its toll. His once powerful voice turned hoarse, his sharp looks faded, and his body started breaking down. He tried quitting. Doctors warned him he was drinking himself to death, but every attempt ended the same way: back at the bar. Burton died in 1984 at just 58 years old. His liver was completely shot, and his body was wrecked from decades of drinking. He left behind a legacy of brilliant performances, but also a reputation as one of Hollywood's most tragic drunks. Unlike others who drank themselves out of a career, Burton somehow kept going, but his addiction won in the end. Peter O'Toole. He was a Hollywood legend, but he was also rarely sober. He built a career on charm, wit, and raw talent, while drinking so much that he sometimes couldn't remember filming entire movies. O'Toole's drinking started early. By the time he became famous in Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, he was already drinking more than his body could handle. He was known to down multiple bottles of whiskey in a single night, then show up to set the next morning like nothing happened, until it started affecting his work. His reputation as a drunken genius followed him everywhere. He would slur through scenes, forget his lines, or suddenly fall asleep in the middle of filming. On Goodbye, Mr. Chips, 1969, production shut down multiple times because he was too wasted to work. In interviews, he later admitted, "I have no memory of making some films." His drinking wasn't just a problem for Hollywood. It nearly killed him. In the 1970s, doctors found that years of alcohol abuse had destroyed his stomach lining, leading to internal bleeding and emergency surgery. They told him if he didn't stop drinking, he wouldn't survive. O'Toole tried to quit, but never fully gave it up. He continued acting, but his wild behavior and heavy drinking kept him from reaching his full potential. Even later in life, when he claimed to be sober, people doubted it. His reputation was too legendary. He lived longer than most Hollywood drunks, making it to 81, but his body was wrecked from decades of drinking. When he died in 2013, fans remembered him as a brilliant actor, but also one of Hollywood's most infamous alcoholics. Peter O'Toole didn't just drink, he turned it into an art form. Oliver Reed. His reputation for out-drinking entire bars made him a legend, but it also destroyed his career and eventually his life. Reed's drinking was on another level. He didn't just sip whiskey between takes, he chugged entire bottles. He once challenged 5 Royal Navy sailors to a drinking contest and won, downing over 100 pints of beer in a single session. By the end, he had to be carried out unconscious. On set, he was a nightmare and a spectacle. Directors never knew if they were getting a world-class actor or a slurring disaster. During The Three Musketeers, 1973, he showed up so drunk that he could barely stand. He got through the scenes, but barely. By the 1980s, his drinking had wrecked his reputation. Studios didn't want the risk, and his career spiraled downward. But the real tragedy came during Gladiator, 2000. Reed had been given one last shot at a big role playing Proximo, but instead of staying focused, he went on one final drinking spree. While filming in Malta, he downed 8 pints of beer, 12 shots of rum, half a bottle of whiskey, and a few doubles of cognac, all in one sitting. That night, he collapsed and died of a massive heart attack. His death was so sudden that the film had to use CGI to finish his scenes. Reed had drunk himself to his own tragic ending. Oliver Reed's drinking wasn't just a problem, it was his identity. He outlived many of Hollywood's legendary drunks, but in the end, alcohol still won. Mickey Rourke. He had everything, looks, talent, and a rising career. But instead of building on it, he drank, fought, and burned every bridge in Hollywood. His downfall wasn't just alcohol, but it played a massive role in his destruction. In the 1980s, Rourke was unstoppable. Movies like 9.5 Weeks and Angel Heart made him one of Hollywood's most in-demand actors. But behind the scenes, he was drinking heavily, getting into bar fights, and making himself unhireable. Directors hated working with him because he was either too drunk to perform or too aggressive to control. His drinking wasn't just a problem on set, it ruined his personal life. He trashed relationships, got arrested multiple times, and became known as Hollywood's biggest liability. Instead of cleaning up, he walked away from acting and became a professional boxer, a move that only made things worse. Boxing destroyed his face, but he still drank through the pain. By the late 90s, he was broke, washed up, and completely forgotten by Hollywood. Even he admitted, "I was drinking myself to death." He lost roles, lost friends, and almost lost his life. But somehow, Rourke pulled off a comeback. He got sober, repaired some of the damage, and landed The Wrestler, 2008, a film that mirrored his own self-destructive past. It earned him an Oscar nomination, but even with success, he struggled to stay clean. Mickey Rourke should have been one of Hollywood's greatest legends. Instead, alcohol and bad choices turned him into a cautionary tale. Even today, he's a reminder of how fast Hollywood can chew you up if you let it. Dennis Hopper. He was Hollywood's ultimate wild card. For decades, he was either too drunk, too high, or too unhinged to function. Somehow, he still delivered legendary performances, even when he could barely stand upright. Hopper's drinking started early, but by the time he became famous in Easy Rider, 1969, it was out of control. He drank on set, between takes, and sometimes during filming. He was so wasted while directing the last movie, 1971, that the film became an incoherent disaster, and Hollywood blacklisted him for nearly a decade. During Apocalypse Now, 1979, Hopper was so drunk and coked out that he couldn't remember his lines. Director Francis Ford Coppola had to feed him one sentence at a time because giving him a full script was pointless. Somehow, his manic energy worked for the role, but off-screen, he was a walking train wreck. Hopper's reputation was legendary, but his career kept crashing and burning. He spent most of the 80s either too wasted to work or banned from Hollywood entirely. At his lowest, he lived in the desert, talking to himself and drinking until he hallucinated. He later admitted he was drinking 28 beers, a bottle of whiskey, and doing 3 grams of cocaine every day. Then, out of nowhere, he got sober. In 1986, he made an insane comeback with Blue Velvet, playing one of the most terrifying villains in film history. This time, the madness was acting, not alcohol. Dennis Hopper drank his way through decades of Hollywood, burning bridges and ruining opportunities. But unlike most stars on this list, he actually cleaned up and made it back. His career should have been over, but somehow he outlived his own chaos. Christopher Hitchens. He was Hollywood adjacent, a constant presence in interviews, debates, and film discussions, always with a drink in hand. Unlike most people on this list, he didn't try to hide it. In fact, he embraced his alcoholism and made it part of his public persona. Hitchens drank like it was his job. Mornings started with scotch or wine, and by afternoon he'd moved on to whiskey, vodka, or whatever was available. He once admitted that he was never fully sober past lunchtime. His friends, colleagues, and even his enemies knew that if you were meeting Hitchens, you were meeting Hitchens and his drink. Despite being constantly buzzed, he was brilliant. His ability to debate, write, and command attention never seemed to suffer, at least on the surface. He could drink glass after glass of whiskey, then go on live TV and verbally dismantle his opponents. His mind was razor sharp, even when his liver wasn't. But make no mistake, his drinking had consequences. Friends noticed his once strong voice becoming raspier, his famous wit sometimes losing its edge. He started to look tired, worn down. Years of chain smoking and drinking finally caught up to him. In 2010, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, the kind that heavy drinking and smoking practically guarantee. Doctors told him to quit, but he didn't see the point. He once joked that if he had his life to live over again, he would drink more, not less. Even as his body failed him, Hitchens kept writing, debating, and of course, drinking. He saw no reason to stop. It was who he was. In 2011, at 62 years old, he passed away. leaving behind a legacy of brilliant writing, sharp debates, and a lifetime of liquor-fueled intellect. Unlike Hollywood stars who drank themselves into oblivion, Hitchens never spiraled out of control, but his addiction still killed him. He was proof that even the smartest minds aren't invincible when alcohol is in the mix. Nicolas Cage. Unlike the other names on this list, he is still standing, but his reputation as Hollywood's modern-day wildcard has been fueled by years of alcohol, erratic behavior, and bizarre public meltdowns. If old-school stars drank their way into oblivion, Nicolas Cage has drunk his way into internet legend. Cage wasn't always Hollywood's unhinged meme king. In the 90s and early 2000s, he was an A-list actor with an Oscar, blockbuster hits, and critical respect. But behind the scenes, his drinking was getting out of control. Directors noticed his slurred speech, co-stars saw his erratic moods, and soon his performances started getting weirder and more unpredictable. Then, the public meltdowns started. In 2011, Cage was arrested in New Orleans for public drunkenness and disturbing the peace, after getting into a shouting match with his wife. Reports claimed he was stumbling, screaming, and too wasted to control himself. A few years later, he was caught drunkenly singing Prince's Purple Rain at a karaoke bar, so hammered that he could barely stand. The drinking wasn't just a personal issue. It wrecked his finances, too. Cage went on a spending spree fueled by booze and bad decisions, blowing through $150 million on castles, private islands, a dinosaur skull, and a pet octopus. When the IRS came knocking, he had to take every role he could get, leading to the infamous era of low-budget, straight-to-DVD Cage movies. Despite the chaos, Cage never fully collapsed like the drunks of old Hollywood. Somehow, he kept delivering performances, sometimes brilliant, sometimes downright unhinged. His 2018 film Mandy reminded people why he was a star in the first place, and in 2021, Pig earned him some of the best reviews of his career. Unlike Barrymore, Flynn, or Reed, Cage hasn't drunk himself into an early grave. Yet. But his booze-fueled antics, erratic career, and bizarre public breakdowns make him the closest thing modern Hollywood has to an old-school drunken disaster. Whether he crashes completely or somehow reinvents himself again, one thing is certain: Nicolas Cage is never boring.